January 14th at 7:15. Since we already did the pledge and the roll call and invocation, we'll go to adoption of the order of business of the day. Anybody any questions about the
Anybody else
agenda?
got?
No? Okay.
Oh,
Next on item agenda is reorganization, election of council president and vice president.
So I'll nominate Richard Hill for president.
Is Tim's our current vice president?
Yeah, but so I second that for Richard. Yeah, I'll second.
I don't even know if do we need the second? No, on nominations.
It's good practice,
Okay.
but
Not
Are
needed.
you interested in still doing it, Tim?
What?
Vice president?
I think they talked and they were gonna have, you do it, right?
I said I
know,
would
I
be
mean-
it. Easily
Debbie
gotten
or
a hold
Tim
of.
or-
I'm good with sharing it. I am perfectly fine with sharing it. So if Debbie would like to do it, I'm more than happy to say, hey, have at it. You know?
Well, in that case, I'll nominate Deb. For vice president.
Do you want us to vote separately or together?
well, that's your pleasure, whatever you prefer. First, though, does anyone else have any nominations they would like to make before we close the nominations? Okay, don't see any. And would anyone want to make a motion to vote on one at a time or together? As a slate.
Together.
Do we have a second to that?
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion concerning the motion to vote on both at the same time?
I'd just like to say one thing. I'll do this, but I've got some personal issues that I'm taking up a lot of time, so I'll commit to this unless this gets really time consuming on my personal level. So I may have to resign from that and resign from the council, but I'll keep you guys posted.
I appreciate you being upfront with us about that.
Any other discussion or comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
I guess this is the last paper. It's gonna have my name on it.
You said conflict of interest forms aren't available? Or Stephen has them.
Yeah.
Here, read them to us.
Making that. Out here. We have several conflict of interest disclosure statements that have been submitted, and I would suggest that we just go through all of them all at once, and then you can decide if you're okay with approving all of them at once or accepting all of them at once. If you want to somehow treat any of them uniquely, let me know as I go through. First one is from Michael Pershing. He's a reserve officer. It's an annual disclosure. Contractor, or vendor is Managed Services Partners, Inc. And the description of the contractor purchases is telephone broker and repair agent, no contract, infrastructure cabling, no contract. And his financial interest is described as my company derives income from work performed that is requested or needed by the town of Whiteland. The amount can change from project to project and is performed and billed as industry acceptable rates. It's meant to say at industry acceptable rates. Next is Byron Temple, related to his position as a board member for the Planning Commission and BCA. Annual disclosure, contractor or vendor is Professional Auto Care Center, Inc. And the description of the contractor purchase is Professional Auto Care, Inc. provides auto maintenance and repair services to the town on an as-needed basis. And his financial interest is described as mechanic shop that provides mechanical service. We provide all oil changes, tire rotations, and etc. And I believe Byron owns Professional Auto Care Center, Inc. Next is Carmen Young, Director of Administration, annual disclosure. Contractor or vendor is listed as Sean Young. Description of contractor or purchases is I am a full-time employee of the town of Whiteland in the role of Director of Administration, and my husband, Sean Young, is also a full-time employee of the town of Whiteland in the role of Director of Operations. Both of us work directly for the Whiteland Town Council and receive financial compensation and fringe benefits from the town of Whiteland for our work. Financial interest is described as I am a full-time employee of the town of Whiteland receiving financial compensation and fringe benefits. My husband, Sean Young, also receives financial compensation and fringe benefits from the town of Whiteland. Our compensation is outlined in the town of Whiteland Salary Ordinance 2024-15. Next is Melissa Frazier, Clerk Treasurer, annual disclosure. Contractor or vendor is listed as Vince Frazier. And the description of the contract purchase is I am a full-time elected official of the town of Whiteland, and my husband is the full-time mechanic for the town of Whiteland. My husband works under the Director of Operations in his position. We both receive financial compensation and fringe benefits from the town of Whiteland for our work. Description of financial interest reads as follows. I am an elected official of the town of Whiteland receiving financial compensation and fringe benefits. My husband, Vince Frazier, also receives financial compensation and fringe benefits from the town. Both of our compensation are outlined in the town of Whiteland Salary Ordinance 2024-15. Next is Sean Young, Director of Operations and annual disclosure. In relation to the contractor, Carmen Young. Description of contractor purchases. I am a full-time employee of the town of Whiteland in the role of Director of Operations, and my wife, Carmen Young, is also a full-time employee of the town of Whiteland in the role of Director of Administration. Both of us work directly for the Whiteland Town Council and receive financial compensation and fringe benefits from the town of Whiteland for our work. Description of my financial interest is as follows. I am a full-time employee of the town of Whiteland receiving financial compensation and fringe benefits. My wife, Carmen Young, also receives financial compensation and fringe benefits from the town of Whiteland. Our compensation is outlined in the town of Whiteland Salary Ordinance 2024-15. Next is Vince Frazier, mechanic. Annual disclosure, contractor or vendor is Melissa Frazier. Description is I am a full-time employee of the town of Whiteland in the role of mechanic with the Director of Operations. Excuse me. Director of Operations is my supervisor. My wife, Melissa Frazier, is an elected official for the town of Whiteland as well. We both receive financial compensation and fringe benefits from the town of Whiteland for our work. Description of the financial interest is I am a full-time employee of the town of Whiteland in the role of mechanic with the Director of Operations as my supervisor. My wife, Melissa Frazier, and myself receive financial compensation and fringe benefits from the town. Both of our compensations are outlined in the town of Whiteland Salary Ordinance 2024-15. Next is Brian Smith, a Deputy Marshal. It's an annual disclosure. Contractor or vendor is TXC Solutions. Description of the contract is my part-time employer, TXC Solutions, provides services for the town of Whiteland and the Whiteland Police Department. I am not involved in the contracts, purchases, or any of the business agreements. My employment with TXC Solutions is for manual labor work installing equipment. Financial interest is described as I am a part-time employee of TXC Solutions and receive a paycheck directly from TXC Solutions. I receive an hourly pay for my work time doing labor services with the company. I do not receive any funds directly from the town of Whiteland or the Whiteland Police Department. And last, looks like this.
Should be Tyler.
No, okay, it was on the second line. There we go, thank you. Tyler Croy, Police Lieutenant, annual disclosure. The contractor is TXC Solutions LLC, DBA TXC Solutions, and TXC Solutions Custom Security. Description of the contractor purchases. TXC provides both goods and services to the government entity. This includes but not limited to electronic equipment, IT services, security equipment, and computer equipment. And the financial interest is described as TXC will derive a profit from the goods and services provided to the town. Is Tyler Croy the owner of TXC Solutions?
Yes, I believe.
Okay. All right. And that is the last of them. If there's no issues, the town council, it would be appropriate to approve a motion to accept these.
Mr. Watson, how come Carmen and Sean and Melissa and Vince, this is new disclosures that hasn't been done in the past? So what prompted those to be included for 2025?
It may have been, I know I reminded Carmen about, it would be appropriate to do that. I didn't remember whether or not they had done it in the past, but spousal relationships are one of those things where it's best to just disclose it, even though it's not a formal contract situation.
Is that the reason, spousal
It's just-
relationships?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
spousal relationship. And one could argue that it's not required technically, but in the abundance of caution, it's better just to avoid any question, having them filed.
Okay, sorry.
Do we still have our phones through Pershing's company?
I'm fine with doing them all at once, but if anybody else feels otherwise,
I agree. I'm fine with doing them all at once. That's a lot.
I'll move to approve all the conflicts of interest previously read to the record by Mr. Watson.
I'll second it.
Have a roll call vote, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Joe Decker.
Yes.
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
5-0 for all of the conflict of interest points.
Thanks for reading all that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Minutes from December 10th, 2024. Questions, concerns? I think Joe was absent that day.
Yeah, so was Tim.
So was I.
Tim, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll move to accept 12/10/20.
I'll second.
Brad and Debbie, and roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Abstain.
Joe Decker.
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Abstain.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 3-0 to abstain.
Voucher packets, January 14th, 125. The appropriation reports were left out, but there were copies.
Yeah, copies.
Yeah. Questions, concerns? Anyone outside?
I'll move to approve voucher packet, 11425.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Joe and Tim, and the roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Joe Decker, Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Financial reports, Melissa? Or Carmen, I guess? Both?
December 31st, general fund balance $142,584.13. Revenue was $84,990.67, and the disbursement was $114,316.74. The sewer operating balance was $757,558.76, with revenue coming in at $162,650.18. Dispersed just a little under $89,000. The sewer improvement balance is $1,238,312.75. Revenue $87,138, and dispersed $22,461.90. Water operating balance is $340,000. $370,315. County revenue was $127,076.30. This was $87,059.41. And just so you know, we did not get the Indian American water bill until I asked for it this week or last week? In the last week. And it's a double bill. So, that 87,000 did not include an Indian American water bill, so
It's a double bill for 2024?
we'll probably take 2024, so it technically was for usage, it was November and December's bill. And the last bill that we paid was the end of October, so it actually came out in November, but we did not get a bill. And they logged in and kept showing a zero balance too online, so I had a conversation with Indian American Water. That happened to us twice in 2023, we got double bills. It didn't happen until this last 2-month period, where we didn't get a bill, so.
I think the bill
It's
We're
a
not,
double bill.
we're not charged a late payment or late fee or anything like that.
It showed a zero balance when they would log into the system to try to pay it online, so I called my contact, not within like the accounting department, our contacts that we work with, and they had to go. So keep that in mind, so that may change our final balance and that rate, because we just got it after the packet was gone. And then the water improvement, fund balance is $564,857.34, with $42,740 brought in. Any questions?
Thank you. Special guest, nothing, old business, 2025 board appointments.
No.
Is that what I think I already signed those, so those are done.
I think the legislative ones got done in November.
Yeah.
Moving on to new business, ordinance 2025-01. Amended salary ordinance for 2025. Ms. Carmen?
So I found a mistake. Melissa and Cindy helped me find a mistake. We found a mistake in the ordinance. The budget is correct, what was appropriated. But within the salary ordinance itself, we've got an amended and restated salary ordinance in front of you. With us shifting around and departmentalizing and shifting how we're paying certain positions. If you look to page 3 of 5, you'll see where the red line is. Basically, in the fire part-time, I had left on the salary ordinance that the fire operations chief and the fire marshal would be paid out of the economic development, when in fact we've moved that to general. And then the fire deputy chief was last year in the fire general, and that is also in the fire, that is in the town general now. And then the volunteer fire department, there was just some percentage revisions that needed to be made. And then also on the finance office HR, how she is paid is now 25% across general, water, sewer, and stormwater. So those were just minor changes that I had in regards to some errors that we found as we did all of our shifting around and got everything uploaded and payroll done. And so just wanted to make sure that we got that corrected in the salary ordinance itself. So that's one revision, a couple of revisions that are before you. But I know Slim has something he would like to kind of present for the council that potentially would need to be added to this amended and restated salary ordinance. So I'll turn it over to him.
As you guys know, Steve earned his water license. Yes, with him earning his water license, how would we like to compensate him more for using IDEM, requirements and all the water testing and that kind of thing? How would we like to go about compensating him with like an extra 500, an extra 1,000. Asking you guys
Don't we have
if you'd
a,
like to-
don't we have a water, we don't have a water with a license, do we? Water
With the
with
license
a
operator.
license, water, no,
Either water, yeah.
yeah, we don't, I mean, we don't have a title that's. Because we used to long time ago.
What position?
Is he paid
title
out
does he
of?
Fall under.
He's just the water laborer right now.
I guess my thought, knowing the history of that, kind of that job and what it's taken for us to get someone with a license, I would err on the side of making it worth his while to keep that license.
And I've got a couple questions, and I agree with you 100%. If he's carrying the water license, then he should be compensated for it. Now, Whiteland did step up and pay for all your training and stuff. I think to protect Whiteland, I think that we have to have something like a contract stating if you quit within the first 6 months, year stuff, then you have to pay us back for our time that we invested in you. I think it's great to invest in you, and I definitely think you should get compensated for it. But we've got to watch our end too, that if we paid for this water license and say you just up and quit for no reason, because a better job come along, then we're out all this money with our license. Most municipalities have you sign a contract that if you get your like a DS license, sewer license, stuff that you have to stay so many years or you have to pay so much back. Okay, and that's kind of how I feel. But on that saying, we all know that this water license carries big responsibilities. Anything anybody does to this water puts that man's license in jeopardy. And that's something what's really strong with me on this whole side, because his license is one who represents the town of Whiteland. If someone screws this water up or does something wrong, he's getting fined for it. He's the one who's going to go to court. If there's a big loss, God forbid something serious happens, he could go to jail. So that's something that we all got to understand as people up here understand that that's a big responsibility to carry a water license. It's a great accomplishment, and I think it's great that you did it. Don't get me wrong. I just think that our Whiteland should be protected in a way. I'm not saying you're going to quit. I'm just saying that I think we have to have something what protects us too. Because that happened in a jurisdiction where someone come and got a license, and then as soon as he got his license, he quit. And after the town done invested all that money into him a long time ago, they were out. And I just don't want to see us left high and dry without an operators. But I can't stress how important it is to everybody up here know anything happens to that water, it's his responsibility. And he's the one who has to answer for it. So I understand his concerns on wanting to use his water license, but I just wanted that to be on records. But I do think we should compensate him something.
Are you asking
I have
for
no
an
problem.
annual increase or
Like a bonus?
or a
type
check
concept, or-
increase or a one-time bonus increase?
Like what can we increase him to now?
You want an annual?
One time, and then, each year on top of that, he's gonna get his annual raise.
Who's our page 2 of the salary ordinance? So Steve falls under the water
Labor.
laborer.
Laborers, yes.
Who is our water supervisor?
He's gonna have a water supervisor.
But in our area, when you have your license, that's usually the water supervisor because he's the one who's taking it. And in his defense, he's taking the big risk. And
Can we,
so I think there should be some cushion stuff for him to grow to that position, if nothing else. Revisit it in 6 months and say, this is the accomplishments you've done. This is what we think we've done. I think we should move on. And I think that that's something, because everybody wants to get promoted at work. Let's be honest. Nobody wants to stay a laborer forever. I mean, that's the whole goal of working here is to move up.
Even if we took, say, half of what the water supervisor made and then half the water labor, where he's at now, and then took kind of the difference.
Kind of like an in
put it
between.
the middle. Kind of what
So
I'm thinking.
who does the water supervisor role now? If if he carries the license, who,
Slim does
you
it.
do it? You do the work, but he carries the license?
I do pretty much all the work, he does it, just carries the license and does the.
And that's the responsibility what
But
falls
now,
on
are you
him.
gonna shift some work to him?
Oh, he does.
Well,
So how are you a water supervisor and director of operations?
Well, you can be
All-
everything.
You can,
You can.
shouldn't you
he's
have
not,
that
he's not paid to
segment?
be the supervisor.
No, he's not paid to
Well,
be a
correct,
supervisor.
but you're doing the roles and responsibilities thereof, but you have a qualified individual that potentially
Now has.
has qualifications to
Yeah, so he
potentially
couldn't- yeah, he
maybe
couldn't
do
put that in
something
his
different
hands
in that
yet.
area.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay, so to Tim's point, since we've paid for the license and such, I don't know that the ship has kind of sailed as far as making him pay us back in that regard, because he went into it without the contract, is my understanding. I think there's a way to do what you're talking about, and the way.
We need to protect us for
The
it.
way that I would suggest doing that is it looks like it's about an $8,000 difference between those two jobs. And so my thought would be that, just kind of break that up into maybe three $2,500 bonuses. One at 4 months into the year, one at 8 months into the year, and one at 12 months into the year. And that way, we are incentivizing him that if he wants those, he works for us at least for the rest of the year. Then at the end of the year, as long as everything's going fine, I would think that Slim would have shifted most of those duties, the supervisory duties, that direction. And I mean, I don't mean to tell Slim how to do his job and whatnot, but it would seem to me that at the end of the year, if everything's going well, he's.
Kind of like a probation
Marshal or whatnot.
increase.
And that protects the town insofar as he is incentivized specifically for us to receive the benefit of that license. I don't know how anybody else feels about that.
And I agree, and that's why eventually he's gonna have to be the water, because I'll be honest, if I had a water license and I wasn't in control of it, I'd pull my license. And the reason why is it's a big deal and people don't really realize how important it is for him to carry that license for us. This in several areas. And as long as Slim's willing to work for that, I think it's great. Because you need to get these guys where they're trained, where you're not doing everything. I mean, you tried that a couple weeks ago and you worried about it. So I think as long as we can achieve him working to that goal, just like you said, and I think that's a great program to get that.
Start going on,
So how do you do that if,
that are wanting to be in that.
aren't you gonna put?
Correct. And if they can't handle it, then you need to move them on. If they can't step up to the plate, and I'm a firm believer in this, if you can't step up to the plate, then there's no reason Slim shouldn't take care of it in that way. But and Slim's like me, old school when it comes to work, and I get that. But it is hard to release and let some of that responsibility go. But I think since he does have the license, I think we owe it to him and to you to do like Joe said, is to step that program up that gives them incentives to stay here a year. I mean, is that something that you like, Stephen? Are you fine with that too?
Fine with it.
I would just like to ask, I know Joe and I were having a private, not a private conversation, but a sidebar conversation. I think to Tim's comment, we need to have this is almost like a grandfather clause. It's kind of because he's already here, but going forward,
Yes.
we probably need to have something established. Also need to establish the criteria of what quantifies individuals gaining a license or additional training or certifications or something like that, that we need to have some sort of matrix or something that we can follow. Because I don't want to open up a can of worms to where, hey, I went and got my purchasing certification, now you owe me $2,500 because we did it here. So we need to be careful. I have no problem with compensating people who better themselves, but I also think we need to have some guidance
Because I
to,
also have another thought to that is, what if we send somebody else to get their water license or their sewer license, or what comes with that?
well, that's what I'm talking about. We need to have something to guide us through this.
And everybody in our area, if they take the water license, they get to race. If they take the sewer license, they get to raise, because that only benefits town of Whiteland. Anybody what's licensed to work on the water system benefits the town. Same with the wastewater plant. Let's say he gets in an accident, he's down for 6 months. If we have another guy who does have license, then he steps in, takes his place till he gets back. God forbid you have an accident, don't take that wrong. But we gotta protect ourselves and make sure that we have this, because what we pay him is gonna be cheaper than what we pay an engineer to sign off on any of the water testing throughout the whole and the sewer. So when we offer this, the thing about it, if they want to get their sewer license, if they're in the water department, now I don't think anybody, just a street department guy or someone else, a sewer guy can go get his water license. No, I think you have to be in that department. And then I think that's something has to be brought to Slim to say, okay, do we need this other water guy? Is this something that we should do? Because it is going to cost the town a bunch of money, and that kind of monitors on your end instead of just throwing it away for anything. But like at our area, if you get your CDLs, you get an automatic $1 an hour.
That's what I was gonna say, and any laborer with a CDL should get a bonus too.
Yeah, they get $1 an hour in our area.
Because there's too many of them that wanna work with no CDL, and we need CDL.
Right, and that's what protects us, because if they get out and get in a wreck in these big trucks and they don't have a CDL, it falls on the town, and the town's gonna be liable for it. Your vac truck requires that, plus a tanker's license. Your triaxle requires a B, stuff like that. Anytime you pull a trailer, it's pintle hitch. They got this new pintle hitch license. I agree compensating them, but I'm also with you. I don't think we should just let it run wild and everybody get everything you want,
Well, I guess my thought would be if town's gonna pay for folks to get licenses, the terms of that should probably be understood at that time. The town's gonna pay for this is what's expected. If you're not gonna, follow through on that end, this is the consequence.
Correct.
We probably should come up with something like that for the future. On this one, I don't think, that's not the case. The town did request or supporters pay for him to get the license, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then we're getting a significant benefit from that.
I think it sounds great. Like I said, I do. I know when I started, we got 6 months. If we didn't get our CDLs, we got fired. It's that simple. That was in our contract. So that's something what you might want to think about. Yeah, do that. Say, it helps you in the long run.
So we need to amend the salary ordinance, not only with what Carmen's,
Mistakes were
mistakes.
corrected.
I didn't want to say the word mistake.
Corrections.
With Carmen's corrections.
Sorry.
No, I didn't want to say that though. But with Carmen's corrections, to also include, we don't have to really include anything because he's going to take what's already in the salary ordinance.
Yes, but if you
But
want
we're
him to
getting
give-
him something
to
extra, so we have to.
receive more than what's in here, then that would have to be adjusted.
And I like what Joe said. I think that's,
But I understand that, but he's already titled in there. Water supervisor's already in there.
but he's not the water supervisor. He just carries the license.
And unless you're
Slim
gonna
is not
retitle
adopted.
him.
Yeah, you'll have to
Okay.
retitle
He won't
him.
have that title then until next year. Okay, so you need to put in the salary amendment.
Yeah, I was thinking that, trying to keep it simple,
Right,
we could put an asterisk next to the water laborer
Well,
and
you
then
just make it a water tech.
change it from water.
It'd be like an intermediate.
you can change the title of a position without having to change appropriation.
So I want to make sure I'm clear on what you're suggesting. Changing water laborer to instead say water tech.
Yeah, instead of water labor or water supervisor, it would just be a technician.
Because you don't have
But you
water
might be-
foreman.
Possibly changing the water supervisor, unless you're going to hire a supervisor or appoint someone, the supervisor during this year. Is that
What about
possible?
interim supervisor?
I don't think he wants to do that just yet. I understand what you're thinking, but I just want to make
You're
sure.
gonna
I
change
like,
water laborer to water tech.
What about water supervisor to water tech?
Yeah, I think that's what he was saying.
That's kind of what I'm saying. It's I don't care what we call it, I mean, it's just a name for, paying purposes, I guess.
Previous title was water superintendent, not trying to, and that's what our sewer superintendent is, the one that carries the license.
Correct.
So we go back to water superintendent, as of right now, he does not supervise. He just is the one that carries the
It's
license.
just the one that carried the license at the point in time.
Which is very
So you
important.
could change the title to water superintendent, and then it doesn't matter what you pay him, there just is a maximum, so. So you can do the increases.
And if you are gonna have bonuses per se, I would probably include an asterisk that specifically mentioned bonus up to X amount of dollars.
So I guess here would be my thought. Possibly the simple way to do this. Can I see that sheet for 1 sec, please, Richard?
Yep.
If we're doing this as bonuses, it seemed to me to make sense to leave the pay slot the same as the 61,000 of the current water laborer slot. Because if not, then we are jumping to a different salary slot and trying to then split it into bonuses. So my thought would be to change the title of water laborer to whatever everyone's happy with. And then, asterisk that and say the person holding this position, if they hold the water license for the town of Whiteland, receive a $2,500 bonus on the, would it be April 1st, August 1st, and December 1st of 2025. April 31st, August 31st,
Into the quarters.
and December 31st.
So 3 divisions, is that what you're saying?
Yes, every 4 months, roughly. Then, and that would seem to make the most sense to me. What title makes everyone happy?
I'm not big on titles, I'll be honest. I've never have been. Titles to me is nothing. I mean, if everybody's doing their work, I get that and I understand it. Some people do like the title of being called, foreman, water superintendent, and building inspector, stuff like that. I mean, what I think he's probably more concerned with is being compensated for his license versus a title, if I'm not mistaken, is how I'm taking this. So as long as we compensate him, which I think is fair, then I think that's going to relieve a lot of the title situation personally.
Doesn't
But-
most of the paperwork he signed say superintendent? I was trying to remember.
Operator.
Just says water operator?
Okay, well then why don't we?
That's what we call him at our work.
Water operator, yeah.
You guys inject your water, right? We inject, what do we do with it? Do we just test it? Okay, in our lab, we call them water operators. That's how they're classified on our salary ordinance. It's all water
Water
operators.
operator with license.
I would make a motion to amend our salary ordinance to change the title, the current title of water laborer to water operator. Would be a provision that there be a bonus of $2,500 on April 31st, August 31st, and December 31st of 2025 per that person holding a license.
And this is for 1 year, correct?
Correct. Just for this year.
And then you'll reevaluate it, then his pay will be accordingly to that.
Well, if he gets a raise on the 31st, that's up to Slim.
By the next year's salary.
That's up to Slim.
That would be next.
Right, as long as, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just wanted to clarify that, because I want him to be clarified that he wasn't thinking he's getting this every year for, I just want to make sure it's per year, and then after that, it's reevaluated. Everybody goes through it and takes it from there.
Does that work for you, Slim? Is there someone else you'd like to say?
Yeah.
Okay. That'll be my motion.
I'll second the motion.
and I was typing as we were talking, trying to get it. Asterisk one, there it is. And the question came up in my mind was whether we want to say that he's entitled to that on April 1, August 1, and December 1, if he's still employed in that position, or eligible,
Meeting expectations.
meaning that it's still at the
Requirements and
discretion
stuff.
of
Yeah,
the director of operations.
gotta have a fail-safe.
Well, I mean, we have to have a water license.
Regardless,
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
I mean, it really wouldn't be based off of expectations.
Well, I think the expectation is that if things go as expected, then at the first of next year,
he would
water supervisor,
have a water supervisor.
then we have to address them.
Then that's something you'll have to address in clean house. I mean, the thing is, if we're paying him for his license right now, that's what we're doing. So if it's not living up to your standards at the first of the year, then unfortunately, that's something you'll have to deal with. That's-
Thank you.
What is that license called? Is it a water operator's license or?
DSL.
Yeah.
There's all different ones, there's all different what you do after.
Yeah,
What does he
we're,
have?
For, I guess, that system that you're gonna be using.
yeah, he's got the small license, the one what's under, you got the one what's 15,000 and over?
The biggest one.
Cause that's what we gotta carry. So you went ahead and stepped up and cause technically you can get the one, so. Cause that's the one I carry.
So what I've typed as the asterisk is entitled to a $2,500 bonus on April 1, August 1, and December 1, if employed in that position and continuing to hold a valid water operator's license. Is that what you wanted to say?
Sounds good to me.
Or do you want it to say eligible?
I'd leave it how it is. If there's problems, they get resolved at the end of the year. That would be my motion anyway.
And I second it.
Motion on the table, Joe and Tim second. We have a roll call.
And just for clarification,
Yes.
sorry, is that to adopt we're on first reading, pass on first reading what was presented to you with those amendments?
Yes, when fixing the
Corrections.
anomaly.
Actions.
Roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Craig Bicker, Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Taylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Mr. Watson, going forward,
Yes.
could you research the policy that we have to where if we don't have a policy for this, for like license and CDLs, certifications, that possibly we look into creating one for some guidance?
Yeah, I took a quick look at our handbook, and I didn't see anything that covered this topic. If I remember correctly, aren't we engaging a consultant to prepare a new handbook? So you might talk to them and see if they can include something like that.
Especially on the CDL, federal highway changed things, and you can't just go test for it now, you have to go to school. And so that was something that Slim and I have been talking about, is how do we, and the training to get your CDL is thousands of dollars.
6.
Yes, and so that one, I think certainly we would want to entertain a contract leading into sending someone to training for that, so. That is something we have talked about, and we'll put that in the handbook.
And that's a long class too. Our guys just did it.
Okay.
Good job, Steve.
We're gonna need a second reading for this,
Nope.
for next month or tonight?
Well, one or the other, if you want to have it take effect tonight, we would have to have a motion to suspend the rules to adopt it finally on the same night. Otherwise, it would need to be,
Well, you kind of have to because where they're taking the monies from is where we need to do it next payroll. whenever that is. That's before the next meeting.
It wouldn't be till April 1st.
Some of the
Next
changes-
payroll,
Oh, these ones.
Corrections.
Yeah.
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 You know, it's just.
So they need to,
So it's cleaner for them.
do we need to suspend the rules?
Yes.
I make a motion to suspend the rules.
Have a second.
I'll second it.
Debbie and Joe, roll call on suspension of rules, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
I'll make a motion to approve through second reading, final reading.
I'll second.
Debbie and Joe again, second reading, approval, roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Probably makes it clean. A lot cleaner. Resolution 2025-01, approval of RDC amendments. Carmen, or is that Stephen?
Okay. The redevelopment commission was presented a proposal that they thought was a good idea, which was to essentially establish a new TIF district along US 31, town limits of the town, the commercial areas. And in that regard, they went ahead and adopted a new declaratory resolution that would establish that as part of our economic development area that already exists, but as a new and separate TIF district. And with that, there's a plan that was approved with that declaration to establish it. Once the redevelopment commission takes that initial action, it then has to go to the plan commission for its review and approval, which it received. It then has to come to the council for your review and approval. And after you have reviewed and if you approve it, it will then go back to the redevelopment commission for a public hearing, which will, obviously include notice of the hearing. And once they have had the public hearing, they can then adopt a confirmatory resolution, which after that is adopted, it becomes final and the new TIF district would then go into effect. And you've been provided a copy of the resolution that includes a map of the area and parcels that would be included, and it includes the plan and so forth. And it's just a matter of if you agree that that's a good idea, then you would approve the resolution 2025-01 that was prepared for you. And if you have any questions, Carmen and I can do our best to answer
Well,
that.
this says parcels highlighted in yellow divided into two maps, north and south, but I only have one map.
Well, looks like we may have only gotten the front sides of.
I got what's north of Whiteland Road to Tracy.
The page numbers, do you only have the even numbers?
Yes,
I did not print off my copies. I have it on my computer, but I don't think I printed them off.
So this is big.
one, two, yeah, I'm missing 3, 5,
We only have even pages.
and 5, yeah.
Okay, here is north of US 31, if you have it.
Which one?
And then south.
That's what I was looking for. 'Cause it's got the piece of property.
I do think we're gonna need, beyond the, well, is that the,
Yeah. Wait a minute. Is Dairy Queen not included in this?
Good question, and the answer is, I believe it is part of the existing TIF district, so we couldn't duplicate.
Okay,
Yeah, 'cause that's what I was curious.
Right
That's how
here.
the whole-
And I think there's one or two parcels that are in that same
Right
category.
through here.
It's
Yeah.
already included.
Okay.
heating and cooling place right here,
Yeah.
fireworks place.
Right.
That's funny that that was included a long time ago. Maybe because none of the rest of that stuff was here. It really should have made it all one.
Did you want to see if any of them wanted to see it?
You want to see the second page?
That's Carmen's paper.
Did you try to get that space between Tracy North, Tracy South from New Island? Because it looks funny.
Some way we can do that.
We're gonna trade them properties?
I know, that just cracks me up,
Yeah.
of all things.
Comment new business at the end of new business. So.
Funny.
Oh,
Merger, I think is what she was.
I ain't giving them money.
I'd rather pay the money.
I think the key thing for us, when finding one of the other assets is not necessarily, most of this is already built environment. But I think for me, it was a redevelopment opportunity. And we also talk about a potential gateway or landscaping improvements. If we could ever get to where Franklin is moving with the US 31 corridor, with, pedestrian pathways on each side, which they'll start this year. They're planning to go from city limit to city limit. That would make sense for NDOT to keep coming north with it, but it also kind of allows us to capture any improvements to that already commercial district, within a TIF district to then invest dollars back into the community.
I don't really see any downside to it. No.
No.
Any other questions, concerns? Got a motion on the table at all?
I'll move to approve, is it, resolution number 2501?
Got a second it?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Jim Brown,
Yes.
Roger Decker,
Yes.
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 Bureau.
And we'll need to make sure that both sides of the redevelopment commission's resolution is attached to the one that's signed.
Carmen, this is your copy here.
I'll get it after the meeting.
All right, that brings us to resolution 2025-02, which also relates to the redevelopment commission. And this one, give you a little background, state law changed this past year to allow TIF funds to be used to help fund police and fire departments. And to do that, though, anytime you're spending TIF funds, it's supposed to be
In TIF area.
in conformance with your economic development plan. Our economic development plan did not say anything about police and fire expenditures. So this amends the existing economic development plan, both for our primary TIF district, but also for the patch areas. And it also allows, to the extent law allows, for expenditures of TIF funds from the Whiteland allocation area to be used to fund improvements in the US 31, the new US 31 TIF district. So that's a summary of what this is doing. But the primary focus is the allowing TIF funds to be used for police and fire. And I think the initial estimate and expectation is $200,000.
We're missing even pages too on this page, on this packet too.
Missing even on this one, odd on the other one.
Sorry.
Well, it's a little bit simpler, so.
So the new TIF area on 31 is called Whiteland EDA. Is that right?
No, when you say the new TIF area that we just approved is the US 31.
Yeah, that's what I mean. US 31, what's it called?
The US 31 allocation area.
Okay, US 31 allocation area.
So
What's the-
this makes spending TIF dollars from basically all three of our districts. It opens up the door to spending it on public safety, basically. There's a complete.
In doing this, this helps our fire department funding, since
I think that's a main driver. Carmen,
Is that the
can you speak
main-
to that?
the fire department funding issue that we have.
Yes. So it's not meant to be a permanent kind of assistance, but there were a couple of expenditures that they had requested the redevelopment commission to purchase for them. And I had made the ask for the purchase, so before we made that official commitment, we needed to kind of beef up the plan, to add in, to allow for fire and police expenditures, especially if you're gonna put significant amount of TIF dollars towards either one. So that was kind of the reason. We've asked for, the redevelopment commission has already committed that they would, extrication equipment, as well as the Lucas, I think it was the Lucas device. So basically hands-off CPR, that the device does it for you. So when they come upon a cardiac arrest situation, so. Those were the two items that were just a little over 100,000. They also have preliminarily committed to purchase, an updated generator for them in the facility. A lot of big that is not adequate, it wasn't enough to run the whole building. And then after the tornado, parts of it, the kind of assessment came back and said that it's basically not worth repairing. And then the fact that it I think it only worked the bays, or it was only enough juice to kind of maintain the bays, if they were to lose power. So, there's another almost $100,000. I don't know that we've gotten the official quote on that just yet. And Colin is working with, the company on the generator to get that, so that's maybe $200,000. But it would allow us to look at other types of more capital expenditures, but this would allow us to help with operational. But these requests right now are more capital in nature, but it would allow a TIF or redevelopment commission to commit operational dollars to help fund.
And that's just a new statute from what, 2023, 2023, 2024, that allows you to do that.
I want to say it took effect in July 1 of 2024.
That was my thought too. It was one of the two. Okay.
I think so.
A motion on 2025-02 at all? Any questions or a motion?
I'll move to approve resolution 2025-02.
Second.
Joe and Pat. Roll call, please.
Jim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Goodrich, Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Yes.
talk about your memos, or are you gonna wait until?
We can do that too.
For my report, I've got a couple of items just want to run by you that would require some action from you all. Slim and I have been looking at, also Slim, my new roof for the town hall. We've been experiencing some roof leaks. Have sealed portions of it when we do discover the leaks, but we'd like to request approval to reach out and put a bid together for a quote on the new roof for the town hall. No idea what that's going to cost, but quote would be for it. So we'd like to move forward with at least acquiring bids for us to look at replacing the roof or fixing it.
That's not any residual from the tornado, is it, by chance?
I actually had the roof checked, a couple months after the tornado, and they said there was no damage all of it from it. So there's no wind damage or drip shingles or anything like that.
Was that one of the contractors that was going around and soliciting work, or was that something that you
No, that was.
made a phone call on?
Built our fire department. I had them go over there.
Leaks per year.
I'm in favor of soliciting quotes, seeing what's
Absolutely.
feasible.
Can't have wet ordinances, can you?
What's that?
I said you can't have wet ordinances or resolutions.
Correct. I mean, we just keep replacing tiles, you can see the damaged ones all throughout, but that's just putting lipstick on it. The second one is, Funkhauser Estates is ready to be disposed of or, sold. So I reached out to the insurance company because when we made the purchase for the temporary housing for the fire department, they did reimburse us. It was $35,000 is what we spent on the trailer. They did reimburse us that money, and that's been put into our account. I did reach out to them and asked how they would like for us to I'll say dispose of. They didn't really say, other than if we sell it and we sell it for $35,000 or under, we have to then give that money to the insurance company. My question for you all is, what would you like for us to do? Would you like for us to work with a realtor to try to sell? We're not selling the land, we're gonna keep the land, but it's to move it on out of Lightland and either, like I said, sell it on our own, or do we work with a realtor? What direction would you like for us to go with that?
So am I understanding that if we sell it, the first 35,000 goes back to the insurance company, and any gravy on top we would get to keep?
And I don't wanna say it needs some love already. So it's kind of like, how much time and energy and effort do we wanna put into trying to really sell it?
Is there another,
Especially if the insurance company isn't really giving us any, like.
Have we thought about calling charity?
that was where I was
Right, if we have Habitat or something. I remember at the church I went to, we redone a trailer for a person, what was low income, and that's what we did for them. The church bought all the supplies and I went over and helped do it. So I was wondering if there's an organization you could look at. I'd feel better doing that, helping someone.
And I reached out to Stephanie Seasting with the County Emergency Management to see if there was any other community that might be in need. And then they would only have the fee of transporting.
Correct.
From one space to another, and she said just dispose of it, and I'm like, well, and then we even talked about, do we wanna do like a controlled burn and do it as a practice?
That would last about a second.
But then we still have the cost and the time of, I mean.
I want an
training
invite
exercise.
to the burning of Funkhauser Estates if that happens.
So it's kind of one of those things where it's still costing us money, but because we haven't turned off the heat, because we don't wanna have pipes freeze and things like that, but all of those expenses, again, are getting reimbursed by the insurance. So I'd like to get that off of their plate, as well, but I can certainly reach out to, a couple charities and see if that's something that.
I would be more apt to do something like that. And that way it's donated to a family in need and stuff like that.
C9 uses a trailer when they have their trades program and they build a house or garage or whatever. They use a trailer and pull it to the property for the kids to,
Like a construction.
yes.
Yeah, this one's a little big for that though. Yeah, it's got, what, a couple bedrooms?
Two bathrooms.
Sometimes he grounds them, he sends them to.
Yeah, that's pretty, yeah, I would,
No, it cannot go on anybody's property within the town of Whiteland per our ordinance, so any ideas?
Hey, the Sailor children were finally gonna get their own room.
I saw your wheels spinning there, so I will.
there's chickens.
Own room. You know what that means
Stephen,
to
is
'em?
that something that prior, like, well, I probably won't get it done before, but to come back to the council to then relinquish or release that asset, then is what I would probably do is if I can find a willing participant, come back to you all to whatever transaction that would.
I guess it depends on whether you want to delegate authority to the director of administration, or if you want things to come back and give the final approval.
I don't think we need to. Carmen's
And delegate authority to Carmen to get rid of it.
Just let us know what happens.
Can you winterize this thing? We do it to RVs all the time and then that way we can stop paying the bills.
I mean,
We do it to RVs all the time and I mean, if it helps,
I imagine you could, but you'd have to go in, probably with a compressor and everything, drain every bit of water, like, the hot water heaters.
right, that's what we do in campers. We do the same things. But I'm saying it would get it off of that, especially if it'd buy you a month or two that you could find a charity that could take it versus still charging the insurance, because you was concerned about charging them, you know?
we also send a $35,000 a month biosolids fee, so, I mean.
I agree. Well, you just mentioned it.
Our utility bill, I think, is, I
Right.
mean, yes, I'm trying to just kind of move on from.
Camp Atterbury might,
Yeah, and that might be the shop's camp out, like you said, see if they need it.
trailer or something, or.
Brown County Prosecutor's Office is looking for a non-asbestos mobile home. Because they currently are housed,
Brown County?
they will not.
Oh, okay, well, I don't know, we'll see what we can do. Did you guys vote on it? You're good with me?
Just dispose of, or just.
We're good with
take it,
you.
Run with it.
I believe the universal consensus is just as long as we dispose of it in accordance with the statutes, go with God.
All right.
Make sure the minutes show that it was approved and delegated authority by consensus.
The next
Yeah, I don't want
item, I don't have the documents just yet, but there is a development north on Emerson to our town limits, but it is technically in the city of Greenwood. It's on the east side of Emerson. It's a Lennar development, and they are getting close to where they would would like to dedicate right-of-way for the turn lane that they've installed, and which would technically then come into the town of Whiteland because the road is ours, but the property on the east side of Emerson is in the city of Greenwood. So again, I don't have like details or, like any graphics to provide to you tonight, but Stephen and I have, Stephen sent me the template for the deed of dedication of right-of-way, and I forwarded that on to Lennar. I would request the authority to accept the dedications of right-of-way on behalf of the town pending legal review.
That's the passing blister, right?
Yes.
I'll move to authorize Carmen to accept that dedication, subject to review by legal counsel.
I'll second.
Roll call on that, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Gooddecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor.
Yes.
Saylor.
Yes?
That's 5-0.
I've got two more action items, but this next one is CERTA. So you all agreed for the town of Whiteland to join the Central Indiana Redevelopment Authority, which was CERTA, which is the entity that was receiving the READY funds from the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. So long story short, CERTA has been talking with a company called Make My Move. There are other participating cities that have contracts with Make My Move on their own. But this is basically, how do we recruit people to come live in our communities? Now, at first I was not too, why am I paying for this? We don't pay a membership to CERTA. But if you look at the last page, basically, the big undertaking, so $250,000 is coming from the Indiana Economic Development Authority. Another $125,000 is coming from the Indy Chamber. And then the other remaining $125,000, they kind of broken it out to the participating CERTA communities. So what it would be is our commitment, and right now it says $726, but Whitestown is not included in this, so it would actually go down. Some communities are incentivizing individuals to move into their community. So Noblesville, that community is paying people to move into their community. I'm not saying Whiteland would ever do that, but it allows us for a whole $700 or up to $1,000. Let's just say it shouldn't go up; it should actually go down. We could get some marketing about our community specifically. Again, some communities are incentivizing their people, offering cash to their town or city, memberships to golf courses if they have them, chamber memberships. Again, every community is a little different. But it's a small commitment. I can use TIP dollars for it, but I wanted to come to you all just to kind of give you an update on CERTA in general, but then also to Make My Move. All the communities that are listed that are members of CERTA, nobody has opted out. Not because of this. Again, it's kind of a regional, marketing effort to showcase Central Indiana. So my plan would be to ask the redevelopment commission to be the ones that would make that financial commitment, but again, I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Again, I don't plan on incentivizing, like Noblesville, Indiana, they'll pay $5,000 cash for you to relocate. This kind of started during COVID. We saw a lot more remote workers, and they could basically live anywhere in the United States and choose where they live versus, for amenities and things of that nature versus choosing to live where they work, close to where they work. So, just wanted to bring that to your attention. Is there anybody that's saying this is, for $1,000 of a $500,000 commitment, this is a horrible idea?
I need to understand this better, but then I'm adamantly opposed to the government paying people, like doing some sort of handout for this. So like, I don't know, I mean, until I could fully conceptualize that, I mean, I'd have to say I'm 100% no.
And we do not have to give any incentives. Town of Whiteland.
Yeah.
We would just be listed as a community, so we would get a highlight of our community, but as far as the incentives, it would say nothing, no incentives.
So it's
As far
basically a
as-
The
marketing.
marketing
Right.
pamphlet.
So it wouldn't have any of those bullets that say you move to Whiteland, you get, a free Casey's pizza.
No, I didn't get that.
I'll come back if for whatever reason the redevelopment commission goes no to the commitment, once I figure out how much that actually would be, again, just kind of keeping you guys in the loop. If the legislation for this year, so it kicked off last week, the General Assembly, technically CERTA is to sunset at the end of, on June 30th of this year. With the new governor, what we've been told with the new governor, the way that the Indiana Economic Development Corporation is kind of shaking out with some different things, there may not be a ready 3.0 funds coming down to the local communities. So the CERTA organization, it's kind of brought all of us in the 9 donut counties and Marion County together to talk about more regionalization. So they're trying to find a way to keep this organization afloat. But there would be, they don't have any funding to then do that. So I don't know if it ever becomes like where we have to join, like we join Aspire or we join the county chamber. But just to keep you in the loop on that, the state legislators could decide to totally eliminate CERTA or with funding for it, but they would still like to continue it in some, just as a conversation piece to bring all of these communities together. So it's been good. The last thing was the logo. So last time I was decided in November, I don't know where I put mine, but I gave each of you, and then picked the winning logo, but when we went and met with Spotlight, to present the logo that was chosen, she said, is that really what you want? And I said, well, our bosses told us that's what we were gonna have, but she provided some just marketing and some, how it would look on the equipment after she came out and looked at the equipment and said, you know, again, is that really what you want? So, I talked with Richard, and they offered the graphic designer to provide us with some ideas and such. We went through a couple of iterations. I narrowed it down to 2 that I've presented before you today to consider. I sent it to Richard and Tim as president and vice president to kind of give an initial thought, but I'd like to revisit the logo. If we're gonna make this investment, I'd wanna make sure it's gonna be for a longer term than until, you know, we blink and wanna spend another thousands and thousands of dollars to get our equipment and, keep it this later. So, there's a square version and a circle version. You love them, hate them, do you really care? I hope you care a little bit.
I do.
And would like for us to move forward with, so we can go ahead and get going on these.
I'm fine with the round one. I mean, it's all what you guys, the round one looks good to me. Keeps the sharp edges off from getting nicked or anything.
What do you think, Deb?
The round one's better than the square, I think.
Yeah.
I lean square, but I'm not also particular.
I like the round one.
What do you like?
Brad?
That was that's a 3 vote there, so. The only, I would say square, but the only reason is because this kind of looks like the no symbol. With the circle with the slash right through it at the same angle, so, I'm fine with either though.
Do you like the little bitty,
The what symbol? Oh, the no.
Yeah, I didn't think about that until you said something.
Yeah, it looks like that.
do you like the little bitty 1886?
But look at how little 1886 is on that.
We're not discussing
How about
that.
how about if we got rid of the little break?
Yeah,
Just make it a connected circle.
Does that bring us to an accord?
That's fine.
So the
Works
circle,
for me.
that'll make Brad happy too, cause that won't look like a no.
it'll be just like everything else, we just keep coming back and redoing it again and again, right? Just a couple other updates real quick. We have been working with Adam Stone. He will provide you with a very detailed front and back report. All of the things he's been working on with myself and with Rosa's office. And a couple of the big things that I've been working on is the capital asset project list. Department heads are to get me their updates by tomorrow. And then I'll be meeting with Stone Municipal Group to work through our prioritization and funding mechanisms for that to present back to you in February. Capital asset policy, SBOA is recommending that we have a capital asset policy. We started one last year, but we were more or less just trying to address the purchase policy. I'll get with Stephen, but Adam has kind of pulled together kind of an initial capital asset policy. And again, we'll work with legal counsel and come back to you guys in February for that. We renew our insurance in later this month, next week. We met with them this week, and of course it's going to go up because we've added new equipment and it costs more money. Also, it's not necessarily because of our exposure, but it's because of the types of departments that we have. and their exposure, not necessarily ours, but across the country. There's just certain departments that get picked on more with legal type risk exposure. And so our policy, our premiums are going from $277,000 to just under $305,000. The good thing is that I budgeted $316,000, so.
Yeah, but when we met with them, they never said anything of a 20% increase down the
Well,
road.
here's the problem.
And there's
So
no reason
we have-
for it.
Well, hold on. So with IPEPS, we didn't have our firefighters on there at all, so we had to play a catch-up.
Yeah,
So we had to
whatever.
pay the catch-up. And with the increase, and I have the breakdown that shows, some of it is because we purchased equipment and it costs more to cover with, or to replace if you were to have a claim. And part of it is, again, we did have one area that went down. But again, this isn't specific to our department, but law enforcement across the country has caused, again, we're group insurance, group risk. That one went up $7,800, just our policy to cover our law enforcement. So it's not due to any claims we have had, but it's just claims across the country, and everybody has to pay their fair share of that. So even though, again, it's not our exposure, but it's because the potential for a risk. So we still have higher deductibles because of the claims we had with the tornado and other items. That's one thing that we did talk to the insurance company about, is saying that what happens if we reduce the deductible, then obviously the premium's gonna go up. So workers' comp was another one. We had 3 claims this last year. Not significant. We've had more in years past, we're lucky, but just trying, through our safety trainings that we implemented last year and continue to implement, trying to protect the town of any future employee claims. One good thing is we got funded for a tornado siren grant. So we will be adding a new tornado siren out near our water booster station. So I have a meeting later this month to go through the dollars that are gonna come down from that. I've been working with Stephanie at Johnson County Emergency Management, and we got a $30,000 grant. We will have a small match, but added sirens for us, and we're working on one more. So those are all my updates.
Carmen, the State Board of Accounts on that audit, are we on track to meet all the objectives on corrective actions on, we put deadlines like quarter one, quarter two, are we?
So Adam and I talk a couple times a week, and I can't speak, so I'm sure he talks to Melissa a couple times a week. I know he was gonna help us draft some of those SOPs. So I do have that in my to-dos to get that done. He's right now been working again on the capital asset list, and then our annual financial report.
I can circle back around with you on that.
Yeah, that is something that is still a priority.
I've got a couple of them done.
Okay. Done and is written and being implemented.
Most of them are already being implemented anyway, we just gotta put it on paper.
Okay. Slim, did you have anything else?
I think I've been talking about all my stuff.
Mr. Schiff? And Julia? Or just Mr. Schiff?
I like to see.
I'm sorry?
What do you say?
You like the square one?
Oh, the square one?
I handed out the annual report to you, so you give you a chance to look over whenever you're home, or give a report of our annual breakdown of what we've done this year. So the highlights, just to go over, our cadet program is up and going real good. In fact, we've reached the max amount of cadets that are in the program right now. We've had a real good response out of that. They're working well, diligently, and hard on our officers teaching the goals of self law enforcement. They're coming along very well with that, and it's really impacting the school as well with the students. So they're getting the word out to them, and we've got that fluctuation more. They want to come, but we're at our point right now where we're full. In it, the report at the end, I always set goals for the following year. Next year, try to reach them. This year, we reached our goal. We're lucky enough on our training. First of the year, we get hit hard getting our mandatory ILEA training that's required by the state. We're fortunate enough in our department that we're self-trainers. We've got enough instructors that we don't have to reach outside the department to meet the goals to get trained. We've got enough officers that are certified instructors in different areas that train our department, so that really helps us rely on that. And finally, our runs are up a little bit, but the majority of our runs that are really up is the truck stops. We're finding we're getting a lot of cases involving truck stops that start to run into some pretty thorough investigation. It takes some time to get trucks and the pace has to run the reports down. One of my biggest goals, and you're gonna probably hear me harp on it as much as I can. We got 16 people working out of a 600 square foot office, and that's if you count the bonus room. So my big goal is to push again to get us in a building. We've outgrown it years ago. People are attacking each other, and it's hard to get our work done inside your office. But when we get our training, we have to go outside to different areas to get our training, and then have a place big enough to house all this together. We're fortunate enough sometimes to use a conference room here on our training. My big goal and push is looking for another building to get us into. We just totally outgrown. One hall to the right, and that's the police department. That's one of my biggest goals from here on out. Other than that, if you look it over and you got any questions, feel free to contact me. Right now,
Did a wonderful job on putting this together. This is impressive.
Masterpiece.
I work hard on that. I'm lucky to got a good assistant that takes care of that part of it. I just need to tell you.
Well, it's very nice. It's very nice that you take the time to do this and bring us up to speed on everything.
And you're gonna see a break, you'll see in our budget, we try to do an average budget where we've gone through the years. You're gonna see last year was up a little bit, we maintained our budget pretty well. Within the budget outside of pay raises and stuff like that, but the one budget looks high, but it's got the CARES Act in it. That's why it looks a little higher. And this is lower. And we had the CARES Act in it, raised. Right after that, we've been staying pretty tight with the budget. And when we look through the majority of our runs, we've had a lot of accidents. 268 accidents, property damage accidents in the year. And that's due to the truck. We get a lot of accidents that takes out the truck stop. We've got a couple key fatalities. We're fortunate enough, if you look there, we've got 3 reconstruction officers that can reconstruct an accident. One of the fields we worked, we had to reconstruct it. We can't use anybody on it, so I'm real proud of the guys that worked hard to get that in their training and got it to where we can handle anything. Our drones work out, where we work with Purdue, we can fly the drone over a scene. It takes measurements, we send it to Purdue, and they send us back a total breakdown of the accident scene or crime scene. So that's working out real well. The drone program is really working well. K-9 officers, the first year K-9 was come down ill. He's back up and 100%. He's had some major drug busts. Finding drugs that are real hard to find in areas that individually found them, and then we're getting a lot of requests from other departments to use our canine because it's starting to stand out as an excellent canine compared to others that they want to call. We get a lot of requests on drones, when they got an incident with our drones a lot. And you're gonna see a lot of calls in here for agency assist. That's probably our next highest. We do a lot of agency assist, and that's just assisting the fire department or assisting other departments, and that's where we get that. So the calls are good. Anything else?
I have one question, sir. And I had stopped by Julia over the holidays. I reside in Park Forest, as you know, and get a lot of cars parking in the street. And Julia had mentioned that there's a little bit of leniency on the holidays, but I was wondering if that could possibly be looked at. It's still an issue.
Okay, yeah, just explain it, during the holidays, like Thanksgiving through Christmas, New Year's, we give the warnings out, but we kind of go a little lenient on the parking in the street, because we don't know if there's family members in for the holidays visiting, and we don't want to ticket them, or if they've been to a party and they've been drinking, and they stay all night, we don't want them coming out in the car being drunk and driving off, so I go a little lenient there, but Slim and I just had a meeting today, and we're gonna put out an email to all of our guys. We're gonna start hitting that hard, and especially during the snow season, to get cars off the roads so they can plow the roads. We put out, when we got a big snow coming, we put out on our Facebook and our website that please be mindful and put your vehicles in the drive, because we'll be plowing snow. But we're gonna start hitting that harder now since the holidays are over,
Okay.
and
I know I spoke to Slim about that on the snow, and he said he was going to, so thank you for you guys coordinating that, but
we're gonna coordinate that, where we're gonna go up and actually physically knock on the door and see if they can put their car in the driveway.
And the reason I ask this is I'm way in the back and I got a field behind me and stuff like that, and everybody knows I'm on the council, so people ask me questions and I tell them that I'll ask the question and,
Normally, we go up, if we see one part, we try to go up and make contact with them and try to get them to move it, or leave a note on it or a warning on it. And we usually do a warning first time, and the second time it's out, we ticket it, so.
okay. I appreciate
we're
it. Thank
setting
you.
that up for,
Thank you.
you know.
That's all I have. Anybody else? No? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Eric, do you have anything, sir? It's nice to see you in the back. Address your,
Yeah, I don't want to take a whole lot of time, kind of self-explanatory, but I provided, like I've done in the past, 4 memos, kind of providing general information and reminders. The first one relates to the open door law. The main thing is that you need to be mindful that any gatherings that are for town business, any meetings between 3 or more of you, you need to make sure that they're in compliance with the public open door law and that participate and observe those. See if there's anything else in the open door law that be mindful of. That covers the basics on that. As to the public records law, we need to recognize that we have a duty to retain public records and make them available to the public upon request unless they fall within an exception to the public records law, and not required to provide the records immediately, but you have to respond in some fashion within 7 days if it's in writing. Let's see. And if there is a public records request, everyone should know that in most cases, I should be contacted to make sure that exempted records that are, sensitive, you might say, and protected from disclosure aren't disclosed if they're not supposed to be. Next is conflict of interest and offenses against general public administration. We need to make sure that, as we went through today with the conflict of interest disclosures, that if you have any kind of relationships of a financial nature in particular, that you are careful to not mix those with the town unless you have made a disclosure in advance. And there are certain other activities that you need to make sure you stay away from that are listed in the memorandum. And one that's listed there is the ghost employment that sometimes people don't quite understand what all that covers, but you want to make sure that you're not asking people, employees, to do something that is of a private nature on town time and so forth, because that is ghost employment. Employees should be only doing public business when they're being paid for it. And then, as you'll recall, there are a few provisions in our town code that we have adopted that govern various activities. First, the town council, basically trying to avoid micromanaging by the town council. We have administration and director of operations, and make sure that you're honoring their role. Purchasing, we have specific rules about how you have to go about making purchases and who is responsible for doing those and what their limits of authority are. And similarly, we recently adopted, as you will remember, a disposal of personal property policy that basically asks for our employees to coordinate with one another if they're going to dispose of property. If you have any questions, read the memo or ask me.
We did.
Read your paper.
Council comment? Public comment? Adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
You could want to eat all them damn